Hello, thankful people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure that like and subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed. Anyways, today we're going to be doing how to make homemade pie crust. So anyways, here's the other ingredients and stuff that you will need. What you're going to need obviously is a bowl, measuring cups of different sorts, so a 1/8, a 1/2 teaspoon, a 1/2 cup, 1 cup, some baking powder, butter, some salt, ice water. You want to make sure it's ice, super cold water, and then some flour. Then one of these things, a cutter inner thing, I'm not exactly sure, a rolling pin, something to stir with, a fork, a spoon, and then like a pie pan or some sort of dish to put the pie crust in. And there's everything that you pretty much need. So now it's time to go ahead and get into the next part of this video. So next, what we are going to do is go ahead and move what we are not using at this second. So now we're going to go ahead and start by taking our flour and opening our flour since it's a brand new bag. Be careful whenever you open your flour, because otherwise it might go all everywhere. Kind of already is. So what we're going to go ahead and do, sorry if this isn't focused the best, 1 second. I'm going to make this a little bit more focused, hopefully. There you guys go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take 1 cup, we're going to get 1 cup of flour. We're going to start with 1 cup of flour. So, okay, then we're going to go ahead and move our bowl back. Go ahead and add 1 cup of flour to our bowl. And also a hack, you can put your stuff, like your bowls and stuff, in the fridge so they're cold whenever. Then we're going to now add our 1/2 cup of flour as well to the bowl. So 1 1/2 cups of flour, if you were wondering. So there we go. Next, 2 sticks of butter. Or you can do the dry ingredients. Or you can do 1/8. Actually, let's go ahead and do the dry ingredients first. Doesn't really matter. So you're going to add 1/8 teaspoon of baking powder. Then you're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Try not to, I probably won't own that whole thing in because I spilled most of it. Okay, now I'm going to focus the camera a little bit better. There you guys go. Now we are going to go ahead and take our fork and stir this up real quick and good. Stir that all in together as good as you can get it. Then we're going to take the butter is our next step. We're going to unwrap the butter. Because yes, it is in wrappers. And also, this is just strictly from the fridge. You want it directly cold butter. You want it cold. You want it to know. You can also break it or cut it in half. And you want to clean your hands first before you do this. Obviously, it will help. And then you're going to cut this into the thing. So as good as you can get it. It might take a couple tries. Yeah, I know this thing's a little bit broken, but yeah. You want to just keep cutting it in. Because that's what's going to make it flaky. Our pie crust. And you want a flaky, good pie crust. So you're just, hold on a second, let me move this so you can see better what I'm doing. So you're just going to keep cutting it in. As you can see what I'm doing, you're just going to push on it. And then cut it in. It might take a few times till you can get it. And you're just going to do that until it's really good and cut in there into the flour. So you're just going to do that. I'm just going to keep doing it until we get all of the first stick of butter cut into here as good as possible. So some ASMR for you guys. You kind of have to knock some of it out if it doesn't get very good. So that's why you want clean hands, very clean hands. And just keep doing it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add the second stick of butter here. Now this is cold butter, and do not drop the wrapper in the butter. Do not drop the wrapper of the butter into the pie crust batter, I guess you can call it. I guess that's what it'd be called, I don't know. Into the pie crust that we're making. It's not really batter, I guess. Dough, pie crust dough. There. And you can break it into pieces, but you want to make sure it is cold. And you're just going to keep doing that until you get all nice and good and in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of keep doing that until I get that all nice and good and in there. So I'm going to keep doing this as so. So for guys that are making pies, or whoever's making pies for Thanksgiving, you can make a homemade pie crust, and people will probably really like it, and probably maybe be impressed that you made a homemade pie crust. If you're not yet subscribed, and if you made it this far into the video, you might as well subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hopefully you'll like the rest of my videos. I know this part's kind of long, so I'm just kind of showing you me cutting it in real time. Oh yeah. Then you'll also want to make sure your oven is preheated to 350 degrees. If you haven't done that yet, it's okay. And see how you got those flakes down there? That's what we want, like that. Like these little flakes here, I'm going to take it out. Like you want it to look like that. So if you're doing that, if it looks like that, you're doing it good. Pretty much want that until you got all the way in. Okay, keep doing that. Okay, so you might have to get some of that butter still out. And just keep doing it until you get those, cutting it in. It does take a little bit of time until you get it to where you want it. And then you're just gonna kind of, if there's big chunks, you just don't want super big chunks of butter, because yeah, trust me, you just want to keep doing that. It does take time to make pie crust, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, depending on how long it takes you, it just depends on how fast you are at cutting the butter into your pie crust or whatever you are using. So now we're gonna trust me, I cleaned my hands before I started filming and this stuff, so don't have to worry about that. So anyways, once you get it good and cut in to the crust that we are making, which we just keep going until you get it pretty where you want it, because you want to have small pieces in the flour. It might take a while. You don't want super big chunks, you want like tiny chunks of butter all cut in there. It might take a little bit longer than what you expect, so just know that. So incorporate some time for extra time if you are making homemade pie crust and not just buying them from the store, just to let you guys all know. I mean, it does taste really good, homemade pie crust. So then I think that's pretty good. I mean, obviously some pieces could be a little bit smaller, but for the most part it's pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting this in for the rest of it just a little bit more, just because it's almost there, as you can see. I think that's actually pretty good what we have there. So as you can see, that's kind of what you want. Obviously some chunks will be a little bit bigger than other. Now it is time, after you get that, clean out your cutter inner thing, whatever this thing's called. Can't remember. You're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of cold water, and there is ice in it because you want it to be cold whenever you make pie crust. That's why my butter was cold. Okay, so you want just add a little bit at a time and try not to get ice chunks in there. And then you're just going to stir it up. Just keep adding a little at a time because you don't want it to do too much until it gets all stuck together. And if you don't have a cutter and tool, you can always use a fork. If you wanted to hack, if you didn't know that, you can just use a fork and go like that. Just to let you guys know. Just add a little bit more water, a little bit at a time. I would say about, just kind of eyeball the water, but you don't want to add too much, so like maybe like a fourth of a cup, maybe probably less than that. Just kind of until you get it all together. You want to add still a little bit more water. As you can see, I'm adding very little amounts until I am getting to the consistency of dough I want for the pie crust. So it still needs a little bit more, just a little bit at a time. This is still filming, right? Sorry about that, you guys. Yeah. Okay, so this is still filming. I'm making sure you can see. So I think just see how this is still crummy at the top, like that. It still needs a little bit more water, just a little bit more of cold ice water. That is the key for making pie crust. Okay, there. I think just a little bit more water. So you want your pie crust to look like that, like this, and that's kind of how you know whenever it's about done. But since it doesn't all look quite like that, we're still adding water. Okay, I think we're good. I'd say about a fourth a cup of water, maybe probably less, just kind of eyeball the water. So this is what you want your pie crust to look like. So now that we got it to look like that, this is like the consistency that you want your pie crust. Then now you are I'm gonna go ahead and pause the camera, but you guys probably won't know that this is paused, but I am telling you this. Then I'm gonna like seamlessly add these together. So I'm gonna go kind of take a little, like get some other stuff set up for the rest of the video. Anyways, now that you've got your dough like that consistency, what you're gonna need is some flour, and this is just flour in here. You're just gonna wanna put a little bit on your countertop or cutting board or whatever, and you're also going to put a little bit on your rolling pin as well. If your rolling pin does not touch the surface, you can just kind of sprinkle it on and roll it as so. If it does touch the surface, you can just roll the rolling pin in the flour. So like if it touches the surface, you can just kind of go like that, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay, so now you're also going to want to put a little bit of flour on your hands. That way, whenever you pick up the dough, it doesn't get stuck to your hands. So now we're going to go ahead and pick up the dough with our floured hands and kind of put it in like a ball for how big of a pie crust we are making. We're making a big one, so we'll kind of need the whole thing. So I'm going to probably have to put a little bit more flour in my hand. And you want to make sure you don't make it too floury. But what we're doing is just kind of sticking this all together. It kind of looks like you're making sugar cookies, but you are not, because we're making pie crust. And then just gonna kind of grab all that. Hopefully you guys can see. So see kind of how that looks. You're just gonna want to try to grab all the dough that you can out of there for the pie crust. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. It's probably a little long video. I can just put the bowl in the washer, but I'm gonna go grab the pan for the pie crust that we're using. We're just using this one, so this will work. Whatever pan you have for a pie, that should work. So we are working on that. So now we're going to go ahead and kind of knead the dough just a little bit, just so we can get it, not really knead, just kind of maybe a little bit of kneading, but not too much. Just want to kind of put the dough together until you get it to where you want it. Okay, so And we still have some flour over here on the side just in case. If you don't use all flour, don't worry. You can just put it back in the container. Just kind of stick all the dough together until you get it where you want it. A little bit of kneading, just a little bit. You don't want to over knead this dough for sure. Now we are going to go ahead and move this out. Move the flour. And now we're going to go ahead and take our rolling pin and roll it out. See now that can you see those little spots in the butter? Where the butter is, the little yellowish spots? That's going to make your pie crust flaky. And we're just going to roll it out till we can get a thin layer. Or as thin as possible. So you might have to do it in like 2 shifts or a couple and go from there. So I think I'm gonna have to separate this into 2 pieces of pie crust so I can get a better one rolled out. So I'm just gonna move this over. If you were wondering what I was doing, because I think it could probably I think this makes 1 to 2 pie crusts, depending on how big the pies are that you're making pie crust for. Remove this. Now, since we kind of got that rolled out, and if you kind of think it needs rolled out a little bit more, you can always roll it out a little bit more. Like, see, I think it needs rolled out just a little bit more. Sorry about that, you guys. That's kind of loud. Yeah, I knocked something off the counter because we don't have a very big counter. And yeah, we have a small kitchen, so like and subscribe if you have a small kitchen or big kitchen. I prefer to have a bigger kitchen because then I would have more room to work and more room to film videos. But you know, we work with what we got. So anyways, now that we got this rolled out pretty thin, we're gonna put this in our pan. And yes, I got flour on it. You don't have to put flour in it. So I'm probably gonna try to shake out some of the flour that got in here, just a little bit, but I can. Or you can just wipe that down with a paper towel. It's okay if you don't. I'm just actually gonna wipe this down with a paper towel and get some of that flour out. So now it looks like that. So now we're going to go ahead and take this over here and we're going to move our pie crust into here. And obviously we're going to have to we can kind of make it a little bit flatter, but we're going to obviously have to take the other piece of pie crust and put it in here as well because it's so big. So this will make it pretty good pie crust size. And then we're gonna turn on our oven. Then I'll show you guys whenever it is done baking. After I put it in the oven, I'll show you guys it before it goes in the oven, how it looks too. So enjoy this little bit of ASMR. If comments are turned on, what's your favorite pie to make? If you could make any pie, what would it be and why? Or just comment what's your favorite pie to eat or make. If you don't make pies, what's your favorite pie to eat? If you make pies, what's your favorite pie to cook? Or and if you don't know, if you haven't ever tried pie, comment on what pie you would like to try or what new pie you'd like to try, and you can just kind of get this however you want it thinner. The thinner the better, but if you can't get it super thin, it's okay. The thinner you can get your pie crust, the better. You want it as thin as possible, so the more you roll it out, the better, like without it not being able to cover the pie pan. Okay, so that looks pretty rolled out, pretty good. Probably could be a little bit thinner than that, but you know, it is what it is. And then you're just going to put it in your pie pan, and then you're just going to kind of go like so, make a little crust on the outside. If you have extra, you can always take it off and use it for something else. And then we are making a pie crust. And then I'm gonna pop this in the oven. Throw it in the oven. Well, not actually throw, but you guys know what I mean. Go put this in the oven here in a few minutes. Once I get this pie crust pretty good and looking good, hopefully you guys can see pretty much what I am doing. Here, I'm gonna move this closer so you can see. And then I'm just kind of taking the extra pie crust and then just kind of adding it and like thinning it out if it needs to be thinned out or whatnot. And see, can you see those chunks of butter in there? Here, okay. Right there, that's a chunk of butter. That's what's gonna make your pie crust flaky, if you didn't know that. It's from the butter, that's what makes it flaky. And the thinner your pie crust is, the better. I know my pie crust isn't very thin. It could be thinner for sure, like rolled out. Because you don't want a very thick pie crust. But you know, unless you're making like a pot pie, then you might want a little bit thicker one. But for whatever I'm making, a thin crust one will work. Okay, so anyways, this is how our pie crust kind of looks before the oven. So anyways, I'm going to kind of zoom out and kind of show you a little bit better of what it looks like before the oven. So anyways, this is what it looks like before it goes in the oven. So if you're not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Anyways, then I will show you what this looks like after it's done baking. And I'll also tell you how it tastes. So anyways, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any fall/Thanksgiving content or any sort of that stuff, because this is kind of like a fall/Thanksgiving video. And also for my Christmas content will come out after sort of the fall and Thanksgiving stuff. So anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on all that. So anyways, I'll see you whenever this pie crust is done. Anyways, this is what the pie crust turned out like. The only thing that I recommend to do, which I didn't, because I was only making one pie crust, is get it thinner and it will come out better. And also, it depends on what type of pie you're making. If you put in the pie stuff on top whenever you put it in, or if you bake the pie crust, then take it out. And then also, I forgot to tell you, I think, how long to bake it for. Bake it on 350 for about 15 to 30 minutes, and just kind of, it might need longer, it might need shorter than 30 minutes, just gonna have to play around with that. So now it's just time for the taste. So you can hear the flakes. We're just gonna taste a piece of this. It's hot and warm, like really warm, so you're gonna let it cool for a little bit before you eat it. And if you're making like if you want a pot pie crust, it's fine if you make it thicker, but just get it thinner than what I made mine. I should probably made mine a little bit thinner. So just remember to roll it out as thin as possible if you're making pie, like dessert pies. But if you're making like a pot pie or quiche, which then you can just kind of do it however you want. That pie crust turned out really good. Probably says that I would recommend, if you're using a dessert pie, make sure you get it as thin as possible when we roll the dough out. I could have rolled mine out thinner, I just didn't. But if you're making like a pot pie, I think this is perfect thickness, but this kind of depends on what kind of pie you're making. And also what you would put in there, like if you would bake this, like if you would put stuff in there, if you would bake it in the oven with the like ingredients like in there or not, or if you would bake that, then you put the pie in or whatever. You kind of understand what I'm saying, hopefully. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. See y'all. Have a great, beautiful, and wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my content. See ya. Have a great, beautiful day. Well, great, beautiful, and wonderful day. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. If you're no subscriber, thank you so much as well. See y'all. Have a great, beautiful, and wonderful day.